She swore eternal gratitude to me. But now she's back, and I'm the target. New Chicago War Zone, 2048. Dust and fire ruled what remained of the skyline. Once sleek buildings now lay fractured, skeletal ruins, silent monuments to a world before orbital bombardments and bunker sieges. The city had fallen years ago, leaving behind ash-choked streets and glowing embers drifting through the haze. The United States had been locked in a global war for over a decade, one with shifting alliances, shadowy rivals, and no clear end in sight. Sergeant Mason Rourke crawled over the cracked pavement, his boots crunching broken concrete. He paused behind the collapsed concrete pillars of a former transit station, rifle pressed into his side. The device hummed softly, its HUD flashing red. His pulse throbbed. Another blast had shaken the earth moments ago. Somewhere above, fighter drones scanned the zone, invisible until their laser designators glowed across the charred facade of buildings. At 34, he had survived too many missions, too many funerals. He didn't believe in causes anymore. Everything had turned gray. Collateral damage, civilian casualties, and politicians who traded lives like currency. But certain memories refused to fade. One such memory had a face. 13 years ago, in a frozen wasteland, Mason had discovered her by accident. What he thought was a human girl turned out to be something else entirely. Skin the color of twilight ice, hair as dark as a moonless night. She was bleeding, weak, terrified. She spoke nearly flawless English, but her accent was alien in its rise and fall. Stranded, broken, alone. He disobeyed orders. He saved her. In that moment, Mason became more than a soldier. He became a witness to something beyond comprehension. She had reached for his hand, pressed her alien-sized palm to his chest. Her touch had been cold, but her eyes had burned with gratitude. "You saved me. I will never forget." And she hadn't. Now, through the swirling smoke of the battlefield, across a crater that glowed like a flashlight underground, Mason saw her again, and she was pointing a weapon at him. He froze, muscle memory locked in. He raised his rifle. No aim, just readiness. The HUD pinged again. Unidentified enemy squad. Alien tech detected. Engage. Yes/no. He bit back his reply. No. Another soldier beside him. Corporal Lee, tensed. "Rourke, we gotta drop them before they open fire." Lee hissed. "Do not shoot," Mason said, low but firm. "Not yet." Lee's finger tightened on the trigger. Mason shoved his teammate's arm. "You don't know her," he whispered. Lee's rifle wavered. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he nodded. They all held fire. The alien squad advanced. Armor gleamed, coruscating in the low light. Their posture was disciplined. Their actions, efficient. Mason watched each step, every flicker of their weapons. And then he saw her. Vera. Blue skin glowed faintly beneath her tactical suit. Black hair, long and unkempt, whipped across her face. Her stance was steady, determined. She had grown taller, stronger, battle-hardened. Her expression wasn't soft. It was sharp. It was calculating. She stopped a dozen meters away. The others halted behind her. Her voice came through the comm units. English. No translator. Mason Rourke. His heart skipped. Vera. It had sounded like a recognition. A challenge. Before he could speak, she continued. "Once, in the frost, you were my salvation. Now your world is at war with mine. And I've come back." Mason swallowed. "Why point a weapon at me?" Her gaze flicked to his squad. "Because gratitude doesn't erase betrayal. You stood between my people and their safe return. But your government, your command chain, signed its own warrant. We suffered losses. Innocence. They don't know me. They don't know you." He shook his head. "I never worked for them. I left command. I've been off-grid since." She paused. She raised her weapon slightly. Not fired. Not yet aimed. But the message was clear. It doesn't matter. The debt still exists. Her voice was steady. Calm. Commanding. A breeze rustled through broken steel beams. Dust motes glittered like fireflies. Mason felt a storm rising in his chest. Memories of that frozen night flooded back. The crackle of ice. Her pain. The faint glow around her veins. He pressed his lips together, measured his next words. "I'm not the one sending squads after your kind," he said softly. "My war is survival. Not vengeance. Vera's eyes flickered. Every war uses men like you. They call it collateral until it walks up and demands justice. He stared at her. This girl turned warrior, carrying the weight of a civilization on her shoulders. A drone spotlight swept overhead. It passed across Vera and her squad, then shifted back to Mason's team. Vera raised a hand. In that instant, the spotlight swung away. Enemy tech jammed, likely alien. Mason's eyes widened. She didn't lower the weapon. She stared him down. "I'm here at the center of your war," she said. "The map crypt shows you at the head of an offensive toward our stronghold. When the orders hit, I want you to hear it from me first." Mason exhaled through clenched teeth. "You're asking, quiet," he said. "I'm warning you." The wind ripped ash across the ruins. Lee lowered his rifle. Mason could see the tension leave the squad. One by one they stood down. Trust or fear, he couldn't tell which. Vera's voice softened, a ghost of the girl he once knew. "Remember gratitude? I honor mine. Now you must honor mine." She raised her weapon slightly, not at him, but at the air between them. A wedge of uncertainty. Mason's throat tightened. "What do you want me to do?" Her armor channels hummed. Blue light pulsed within, echoing her skin. "Stand down your squad. Don't attack until I say. Protect those hostages, both human and alien. Prove you remember why you saved me." He met her gaze. For the first time, he saw something beyond vengeance. Challenge? Respect? A shard of what they once had. He nodded. Vera lowered her weapon halfway. Enough to ease tension, not enough to surrender control. "Good. Now retreat. We'll talk." Mason tapped his comm team. "Fall back. Keep eyes sharp, but no engagement." They moved back, boots stirring ash. Vera's squad watched, unwavering. As Mason cleared the debris, Vera's eyes met his one last time. "I'll be watching." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. They reached a safer perimeter. Mason's squad paused, gear rattling, breaths heavy. Lee looked at Mason. "What the hell was that?" Mason swallowed hard. "Someone I once saved." Lee glanced at the skyline before answering. "Welcome back to the war, Sarge." Mason didn't respond. He stared back at the ruins behind him, where the alien lines had disappeared into smoke. And somewhere in that haze, a promise hung in the air. Gratitude eternal. But she wasn't gentle anymore. Fortified perimeter, Sector Echo, 19, 36 hours later. The air reeked of ozone and sweat. Portable floodlights cast hard shadows across the half-buried bunker where Mason's squad had taken shelter. The concrete beneath them trembled now and then. Distant artillery thumps, too regular to ignore. Somewhere out there, Vera was watching and waiting. No one on the team spoke much. Not since the encounter. They called her Blue, whispered it like a ghost story around the heat lamps. Some of the rookies were afraid. Others were curious. But Mason? He was just tired and deeply unsettled. He leaned over the field table, reviewing a mission brief blinking red across his compad. Operation Vulture. Urban sweep toward alien-held Zone Kappa. Full aggression approved. Kill or capture orders active. And there it was. Command didn't know, or didn't care. They were about to send soldiers into the jaws of an alien resistance force without understanding who they were about to provoke. Worse, they had no clue who was leading it. A voice broke his focus. "Permission to speak, Sergeant." Private Torres, 18. Eager, green, sharp-eyed. "Go ahead." What the hell was she? Mason looked up. "She's a soldier. Like us." "Not like us, sir. She could have killed all of us." "Why didn't she?" He hesitated. "Because she remembers something this war forgot. Mercy." Torres frowned. "You think she's trying to avoid war?" "No. I think she's trying to aim it." Later that night, while the others slept in shifts, Mason slipped out and activated his long-range encrypted signal, one he hadn't used in over a decade. The same code he'd given Vera 13 years ago. He didn't expect a response, but it came instantly. Location accepted. Stand by. A shimmer in the darkness. A figure emerging silently from the shadows. Vera. She wore lighter armor now, hood drawn back. The blue of her skin pulsed faintly in the cold. Her dark eyes were unblinking, and she wasn't alone. A smaller drone hovered near her shoulder, scanning for threats in absolute silence. Mason held his ground. "You came fast. I was nearby." She studied him. "You still wear the dog tags?" He didn't answer. They sat beneath a fractured antenna dish. The stars were barely visible, blurred by smoke and satellite debris. He passed her a thermopack. She didn't eat it, just held it. Your people are preparing an assault on Zone Kappa, he said. I know. You could warn your command. I'm the command. Mason exhaled. Then we have a problem. Vera's expression didn't change. We offered a treaty. Your kind sent missiles. We pull back. You advanced. We sent envoys. You shot them down. That wasn't me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about humans. You speak like you're separate, but you carry their uniform. You move with their guns. He looked away. I don't carry belief. Just survival. Then we're the same, she said quietly. She leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. There's something worse coming, Mason. Something above this conflict. My people intercepted transmissions. Your side was trying to awaken old orbital weapons. Not from your Earth. From the ones that came before. Mason blinked. What are you talking about? Ancient tech. Buried in your crust. Hidden for centuries. Your generals think they can control it. They can't. It's not meant for humans. He rubbed his temples. And what do you want me to do? Her eyes pierced his. I need you to stop Operation Vulture. Divert the assault. Get your men out. If you enter Zone Kappa, there won't be a retreat. And what happens if I refuse? Vera stood slowly. The light shimmered along the curve of her armor. I will mourn you, but I will kill you. The drone hovered closer. Mason saw a faint blue rune flicker across its shell. Alien script. He couldn't read it, but he understood the meaning. No mercy next time. Before she turned to leave, she paused. You saved me once. Now I'm giving you one last chance. He stood as well, but his words were softer. You used to say I gave you hope in humans. I did. Her voice cracked. Then I watched your kind burn peace to the ground. She stepped back into the mist. Gone. The next morning, command's orders came down. Vulture was greenlit. Launch at 0600. Mason's team was assigned to forward recon. First boots on the edge of Zone Kappa. No one questioned the decision, except Mason. He stared at the assignment screen like it might blink away, but it didn't. His squad prepped. Armor on. Ammo checked. Drones aligned. The countdown had started, and in his chest, Mason knew. If he went forward, this wouldn't be war. It would be annihilation. The woman he had once saved was now guarding the gates of something bigger, something none of them were ready to face. But he was running out of time to decide. Outer edge of Zone Kappa, 5:58 a.m. The wind howled like something feral. Sand and ash scoured the ground in violent bursts, slashing against armored plates and exposed skin. Mason adjusted the magnetic seals on his helmet, watching the HUD flicker as interference spiked. Zone Kappa was a black hole of signal noise. 2 minutes to go, said Lee over comms, breath ragged. The squad crouched low behind a collapsed overpass, staring out at the city ruins ahead. Debris and shattered steel stretched for miles, but there was movement under the rubble. Flashes of faint blue light, like pulsing veins in the earth. Alien tech. Vera's people. Mason felt like he was breathing underwater. The air was wrong. The mission was wrong. And he was still lying to his squad. They didn't know he'd met with her. They didn't know he was about to break protocol. The order came through. Advance. Neutralize resistance. Secure tech site KX. The countdown hit 0. Move. Mason shouted. Boots pounded gravel and steel. Mason led from the front, rifle up, eyes scanning. They crossed the first block without contact, but something was off. Too quiet. No motion. No drones. Then Lee's voice cracked in. Movement left flank. I got way shit, no it's. Impact. A concussive blast lifted the ground. Mason hit the pavement, hard, ears ringing. Screams. Metal groaning. Fire bursting from a ruptured drone tank. He rolled to his feet and saw it. Vera's squad. Blue-armored figures emerging from the mist like shadows given form. Silent. Fast. Deadly. And at the center, Vera herself. Eyes burning, weapon raised. She wasn't here to parley. She was here to make good on her promise. Mason fired a warning shot into the air. Hold your fire, he yelled, but his voice was drowned by gunfire. 2 soldiers from his squad went down, one screaming, the other dead before he hit the ground. Vera's squad didn't miss. Mason made a split-second call. He activated his comm override and shouted, "Stand down. Do not return fire. This is a false engagement. Repeat, do not engage." The squad hesitated. Confusion spread. One soldier lowered his weapon, but it was too late. Lee had already fired, straight toward Vera. She moved like lightning, deflected the shot with a pulse shield. Her eyes locked onto Mason. Hurt, fury, recognition. She raised her weapon toward Lee. No! Mason screamed, sprinting between them. The blast hit him in the side. Everything stopped. Pain, heat, light. He collapsed, armor scorched, breath knocked out of him. He tasted blood. The battlefield fell still. One heartbeat. Two. Then a voice, low and shaking. I warned you. Vera stood over him, arms still raised, weapon humming. Her squad moved in, surrounding Mason's people in seconds. But they didn't fire again. They waited. Vera crouched beside him. Her hand hovered over his wound, conflicted. You said you believe in mercy. Mason choked. I do, she said, but your kind forces me to forget it. She placed something against his chest, a patch glowing with alien symbols. Pain faded slightly. Breathing steadied. I didn't come here to kill you, Mason. I came to protect what matters. And what is that? He whispered. Vera stood. My people. Our last chance. You call this a war zone. But underneath this city is what's left of our future. You're standing on it, digging into it, weaponizing it. He blinked. Then tell them. Tell humans. They won't listen. I will. That's not enough. Suddenly, a second transmission buzzed on her drone. She turned, face hardening. The drone projected a 3D hologram, satellite footage. It showed a convoy of human mechs approaching Zone Kappa from the south. They're early, she said. They're armed. Massively. Then we've got maybe 20 minutes. Mason pushed himself up, gasping. Call them off, Vera said. I can't, but I can try something better. He switched frequencies, tapped into a restricted channel. Voice raw. This is Sergeant Mason Rourke. All teams, abort advance. Do not proceed into Kappa. Repeat, abort. Unauthorized technology under threat. Civilian-grade alien infrastructure. Mission is compromised. There was static. Then command responded. Override denied. Advance continues. This channel is now locked. Mason cursed under his breath. They're not stopping. Vera's expression darkened. She turned to her squad. Prepare fallback. If we can't stop them, we collapse the entrance. Bury the site. That'll kill everyone on the ground, Mason said. I'm aware. Mason looked at her, and for a second, all he saw was the girl he once pulled from the ice. Fragile, trusting. Now she stood with the power to bring down cities. What if I went with you? He asked. Vera blinked. What? Into the site. I record what's there. I show them. I put my name on it. Let them see it through my eyes. They'll brand you a traitor. They already branded me a ghost. Her eyes scanned his face. Hesitation warred with loyalty. Finally, she nodded. You have 10 minutes. After that, we bury everything. They ran. Into the ruins. Through a hidden breach in the street. Mason followed her down a passage of black stone, glowing softly beneath their feet. It was alien architecture, humming with power. Something ancient, far older than Vera herself. They passed sealed chambers. Stasis fields. Machines asleep, but deadly. This isn't a base, Mason whispered. It's a vault, from before either of us existed. And you people live here. We hide here. What's under this floor could wipe out Earth if awakened. And command's digging into it. Vera stopped, looked at him. They already did. That's why we came back. A low rumble shook the corridor. The mechs were arriving. Time was up. Vera turned to him. You have to choose, Mason. You die with them, or come with me. If we leave now, I can get you out. He looked toward the surface, then back at her. Everything was about to break, and no matter what he chose, someone would call him a traitor. Subterranean vault, beneath Zone Kappa, 6:37 a.m. The tremors were growing worse. Each pulse of Earth sent dust falling from the ancient ceiling above Mason and Vera, and the alien lights along the corridor flickered like nervous veins. Surface contact imminent, Vera said. Her voice was calm, but Mason could see the tension in her shoulders. He was still catching his breath, staring at the place they had just passed, some kind of suspended chamber lined with black pillars and a shimmering energy field that sang in a frequency just below hearing. Whatever was in there, it wasn't human, and it wasn't asleep anymore. Above them, human forces were pushing into the ruins with heavy armor. Below, Vera's people prepared to collapse the vault and everyone in it. There was no time left. Mason turned to her. We don't have to let it end like this. Vera's eyes were already glowing faintly, battle-ready. There's no stopping it now. Yes, there is. You can still show restraint. I have. For weeks. My people want revenge. I convinced them to wait. I told them I had a reason. Her voice cracked at the edge of that word. But now your forces are charging into something they don't understand, she continued. If they trigger that chamber, it won't be just a battle. It'll be extinction. For all of us. Mason took a step closer. Then don't destroy it. Show it to me. Let me record it. Let me prove to them it's not a weapon. She turned away. It is a weapon. The silence hit like a bullet. It's dormant, she added. But its purpose was always clear. It's part of a defensive array built by a civilization older than ours. My ancestors found it, studied it, guarded it. We never meant to use it. But when your governments began tearing apart our territory looking for tech, we realized we couldn't keep hiding. You're not hiding anymore, Mason said. No, she whispered. We're cornered. Above, the unmistakable sound of gunfire echoed faintly through the vault ceiling. A muffled scream followed, then the crackle of flamethrowers. The humans had entered. Vera's comm lit up with a tight beam message. Tier 1 breach confirmed. Collapse authorization requested. She didn't respond immediately. Mason saw it. The indecision. The war between survival and memory. Between duty and him. If you bring this place down, everything dies, Mason said. But if you let me show them what's really here, maybe they'll stand down. Vera looked at him like he was insane. You think one man with a video feed is going to stop an entire army? No, he said. But I'm not just a man. I'm the guy who once saved your life. Who believed there was something better in all this. She blinked. Emotion flickered. You still believe in that? She asked. I have to. Mason pulled out his helmet cam. Activated the wideband broadcast. This is Sergeant Mason Rourke, transmitting live. If you're hearing this, I am currently standing inside an alien site underneath Zone Kappa. This is not a weapons depot. This is a vault of ancient technology. I'm showing visuals now. He pointed the cam toward the chamber. The structure you're digging into isn't your enemy. But if you provoke it, it will react. You have 30 seconds to stand down before we all lose. He turned the cam back to himself. And if you think I'm lying, come down here. Look me in the eyes. He paused, then added, if you've ever believed in peace, even once, this is the moment to prove it. Vera stared at him, stunned. You just put yourself on every enemy watch list on the planet. Mason smiled grimly. That's a lot of lists. Her comm pinged again. One of her lieutenants. Her hand hovered over the response button. What are you going to do? Mason asked. She didn't answer. Not immediately. Instead, she tapped her comm and gave a short, sharp command. Hold collapse. Reroute drones. Delay engagement. Await signal. Her second-in-command responded with a burst of static, but obeyed. Mason felt his lungs finally relax. You just gave me 5 minutes, he said. Vera's voice was steel. Use them well. Suddenly, the ground shook harder. A wall cracked near the chamber entrance. No, Vera muttered. That wasn't us. She tapped her drone. Footage showed a human mech unit drilling into the vault. Unauthorized, off-mission, likely rogue. Mason's comm exploded with interference. Then a voice came through. Command. Rourke, stand down and exit the zone. You're in violation of military protocol. This is your final warning. He answered without hesitation. If you pull those mechs out now, I'll give you what you want. Access, intelligence, and footage. If you don't, you're going to wake something that will wipe both sides off the map. Silence. Then, under review. Do not proceed further. A delay, but not a no. Mason turned to Vera. That's the best we're going to get. Then I'll take it. She signaled her squad. Retreat to Tier 3. Stand down lethal systems. Begin translation protocol. Open the vault for demonstration only. I want every eye on this to see what they almost destroyed. Mason watched her move. Precise, commanding, fierce. She wasn't the girl from the ice anymore. She was a leader, but something in her eyes told him the decision still cost her. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. Vera stopped in the doorway. Because once, someone believed I was more than a threat. I never forgot that. She looked back. Now it's your turn. They entered the core chamber. Lights rose like stars. The walls unfolded, revealing holographic maps, alien constellations, and shapes that bent logic. The power thrummed in Mason's bones. Vera looked over to him. You still think you can stop a war with a camera? Mason raised the cam. I think I can start a conversation. If you've ever rooted for an impossible love, a bond that defied war, blood, and gravity, follow the rest of this story. Subscribe to the channel and stay with us. What happens next? No one's ready for it. Vault Core, 7:03 a.m. The chamber pulsed around them. Quiet now, almost reverent. Alien symbols spun in the air like constellations pulled from another dimension. The once dormant vault now hummed with awareness, as if it had sensed that, for the first time in centuries, someone was trying to understand instead of conquer. Mason lowered his helmet cam. His hand trembled slightly. He'd faced firefights, orbital drops, near-death scenarios, but nothing had shaken him like this. Vera was silent beside him, her eyes locked on a suspended matrix of light that projected an interstellar map. There were routes, warnings, even an encoded language neither of them could decipher without years of study. But one thing was unmistakable. Earth was marked in red. What does it mean? Mason asked. Vera didn't answer at first. When she did, her voice was low. It means this planet was once a battlefield, long before your kind ever climbed out of caves. And now we're about to repeat history, Mason muttered. Footsteps echoed from the vault corridor. Mason spun, weapon raised. Reflex. It was Lieutenant Briggs, his former superior from Central Command, flanked by two soldiers in hardened recon suits. Their weapons weren't drawn, but their stares were ice cold. Mason, Briggs said, stand down. We're not here to detain you yet. Yet, Mason echoed, lowering his rifle but not relaxing. Briggs scanned the chamber with narrowed eyes. So this is the tech command's been after. Vera stepped forward. It's not yours. Briggs turned, surprised she spoke English so fluently, and even more surprised she was unarmed. I've read your profile, he said. You're the alien he let go all those years ago. She didn't flinch. I spared him too, she replied. Tension crackled in the air. Mason stepped between them. We made a deal. Ceasefire in exchange for intel. I delivered. Now I expect the same. Briggs smirked. Your footage bought you about 12 hours of breathing room. That's it. After that, we move in. Then you didn't listen. Oh, we listened. We just don't agree. He took a step forward, looking past Mason toward the pulsating core of the vault. This tech could change everything. Energy solutions, space travel, defense systems. And you expect us to walk away. Mason's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're touching. Vera spoke again. You're not prepared to activate this vault. Not physically, not morally. The last species that tried erased itself. Briggs turned. Nice story. I'll take the risk. No, Mason snapped. You'll take millions of lives. That's what this is. Briggs signaled his team. One soldier moved toward the core interface. Vera stepped forward fast, too fast. Don't. The soldier hesitated. Sir. Briggs didn't blink. Do it. Mason's heart slammed at his chest. Stop. But the soldier reached for the interface, and the vault reacted. A sound like cracking glass echoed through the chamber, not loud but final. The interface pulsed red. The air grew heavy. Gravity itself bent slightly. Mason's HUD glitched. Then came the projection. A massive figure, semi-translucent, burst from the central column. An ancient alien intelligence. Non-corporeal. Watching. Judging. Vera dropped to one knee, head bowed. Mason instinctively stepped back. The projection's voice wasn't a voice. It was a feeling, transmitted directly into the nervous system. A wave of fury and sorrow, of history repeating itself. Briggs clutched his head. One of his soldiers collapsed, blood dripping from his nose. Vera turned to Mason, eyes wide. It thinks we're invaders. Mason grabbed Briggs and pulled him back. You woke it. No, what the hell is it? It's a sentry, a judge. It doesn't see species. It sees threat patterns. And we just tripped every alarm. Vera sprinted to the core, manipulating a console that shifted like liquid beneath her hands. We need to pacify it before it activates defense protocols. What happens if we don't? Mason shouted. She didn't answer. The vault began to hum louder. Outside, topside comms exploded with activity. We're detecting seismic shifts. What the hell did you trigger, Rourke? Orbital scan shows unknown energy rising from Kappa's sight. It's spreading fast. Is this an attack? Do we retaliate? Mason toggled his calm. This is not an attack. Do not fire. This is a fail-safe response from alien tech. Repeat, stand down. But he could feel the decision slipping away. Vera yelled over the rising sound. We need to shut it down manually. I'll draw its attention. You cut the core link. Too dangerous. Do you have a better idea? Mason turned to Briggs. You got anyone who understands alien tech? Briggs was pale. No one trained for this. Then get out. To where? Mason didn't answer. He just pointed up. Briggs got the message. As the soldiers retreated, Vera activated a glowing panel. A secondary chamber opened behind her, revealing a vertical core, spinning, dangerous, alive. Mason ran after her. The heat intensified. The pressure pushed into their lungs. This core links to a deep system, buried kilometers down, she said. It's trying to call others like it. If that happens, we won't be able to stop it. Mason finished. He reached the terminal. Alien glyphs danced across it. He didn't understand them, but he remembered patterns. From maps, from Vera's explanations. He pressed a combination, blind but precise. The chamber pulsed, stopped. The projection flickered. The hum faded. Silence. They stood there, breathless, alive. But something had changed. Later, in the quiet, Vera sat beside Mason near the entrance tunnel. He was bandaged, drained. She was quiet, watching the ceiling. We avoided a disaster, he said. No, she replied. We delayed it. He didn't argue. Then she added, You'll be branded a traitor now. You know that, right? I'd rather be a traitor than a murderer. They sat in silence again. Then Vera whispered, 2 of my people died today, covering the exit. Mason turned to her. I'm sorry. They believed in me, just like I believed in you. Far above them, on the ruined surface of New Chicago, 2 worlds were regrouping. Trust was fractured. Lives had been lost. And the vault remained silent again, but not forgotten. Makeshift outpost, 14 kilometers outside Zone Kappa. 2 days later, the tent rustled in the wind like brittle paper. Outside, red warning lights still blinked across the scorched landscape. Markers of a zone now labeled too sensitive for either side to touch. The ceasefire was fragile, temporary, but it held. Inside, Mason sat in silence. He had changed uniforms. The insignia had been torn from his sleeve. He wasn't military anymore. Just a name, a body, and a past too complicated to explain to anyone back home. His ribs still ached from the blast. His side was wrapped tight. But what hurt more was something no medic could see. He'd seen men die for nothing. He'd watched both sides nearly trigger extinction. And he'd seen her, Vera, risk everything to stop it. The flap opened. She entered without a word. Her silhouette was sharp against the dusk, but her movements were quiet. The softum of her armor was gone. She wore loose gray robes now, alien fabric that shimmered like smoke. Mason looked up. I wasn't sure you'd come back. Vera tilted her head. I said I would. He gave a tired half-smile. You also said you'd kill me once. She sat opposite him on the cot. I changed my mind. Silence settled again, but this time it was different. Not heavy, not hostile, just real. I lost good people, she said after a while. So did I, he replied. They didn't try to console each other. They just sat in that mutual ache. 2 survivors of the same fire, burned differently, but burned nonetheless. Vera pulled something from her cloak, his dog tags. I found these near the vault. I assumed you dropped them. He took them slowly, fingers brushing hers. I didn't mean to. They meant something to you once. They still do. He looked at the metal tags, scratched and scorched. They reminded me who I wanted to be, not who I was becoming. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she leaned back against the tent wall. Your people, they fear what they don't understand. So do yours, Mason said. Vera nodded. True, but there's a difference. My kind was taught to study what they feared. Yours, they shoot first. Mason exhaled slowly. We're not all like that. No, you're not. There was a shift then, small but undeniable. A softness behind the shield she always wore. A pause in her judgment. He saw her not just as a soldier or survivor, but as someone alone, like him. And maybe, just maybe, no longer wanting to be. I keep thinking about the first time I saw you, he said. In the snow. You were bleeding. Freezing. Terrified. You held a gun to my head. He laughed softly. You remember that. You were shaking. I wasn't afraid of the weapon. I was afraid of how scared you were. He looked down, embarrassed. I didn't know what I was doing. But you didn't pull the trigger, she said. You chose something else. I never forgot that. Outside, a drone buzzed past the camp, scanning the perimeter. Both of them tense for a split second. Old habits, but it passed without incident. Mason let out a breath. I don't think I'll be going home. Vera didn't look surprised. You exposed too much. Gave him footage. Testified. Saved alien lives. Sounds heroic when you say it like that. It's not. It's just human. He looked at her. And you? What happens now for you? She hesitated. I'll be reassigned. Maybe relocated to another sector. They don't trust me either. Some think I'm compromised. Because of me? Because I hesitated. He swallowed. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'd rather be doubted for compassion than rewarded for cruelty. Another long silence. This time it didn't need filling. Mason studied her. Her posture, her eyes, the way she leaned back with her guard half lowered. She looked tired. Not physically. Spiritually. He leaned forward. I don't know what's coming next, but I don't want to face it alone. Vera met his gaze. I've walked too far alone already. She didn't touch him. Not yet. But her hand rested near his on the cot. Close enough to feel the heat. The trust. A spark without the need for flame. Later that night, as they sat side by side outside the tent, watching the fractured moon rise over a scorched earth, Vera finally spoke the words that had been caught in the air between them for days. I thought I hated humans, she said. Then I met one who made me question everything. Mason turned toward her, his voice low, and I thought aliens were the enemy, until one of them became the only reason I kept going. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. But in the stillness of that moment, between two species, two soldiers, two survivors, something unbreakable was forged. Not from blood, not from orders, from choice. Perimeter Bravo, 4:21 a.m. 3 weeks later, they called it the Silent Sky. The orbital debris field left by the failed Peace Summit explosion still hung above Earth like a glittering wound. Dozens of defense satellites had been destroyed by an unknown detonation, and no one claimed responsibility. But Mason knew who had the answer, and she was standing next to him now, silently watching the plume of smoke rising from the horizon. Vera. Her skin glowed faintly in the low light. She wore her armor again, but the war paint was gone. No more mask, just the weight of what was coming. Behind them, soldiers and alien technicians worked side by side to build a stabilizing shield tower meant to defuse any further chain reactions from the exposed alien vault network. They had found 6 more cores across the planet, and someone, human or not, was trying to trigger them all at once. Rourke, report, came the voice over comms. Mason tapped his headset. Structure 04 is holding. Vault readings are stable. Still no visual on the saboteur. Vera looked at him. You believe it's one of yours. I believe it's someone who wants this alliance dead. She nodded. Then we find them. The alert came 30 seconds later. Shield Tower 2, breach detected. Intruder identified. Unauthorized activation sequence underway. Vera's eyes narrowed. Tower 2's right above Vault Theta. Mason already had his rifle up. If it blows, the chain reaction could take out half the continent. They ran. The world around them blurred. A shattered city lit by blue pulses from the underground alien infrastructure, now fused with human tech. Their boots pounded pavement as warning sirens screamed through the ruins. At Tower 2, the blast doors were already compromised. Vera sliced through the rest with a plasma blade and charged inside. The intruder wasn't hiding. He stood at the control panel, fingers flying across a hacked alien interface. Lieutenant Briggs. Mason froze. You. Briggs didn't turn. This isn't what you think. Looks like you're about to fry a quarter of the planet. Enlighten me. Briggs finally looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, his uniform torn. It's the only way to stop them. Them. The alliance. The surrender. The cover-up. You think this peace means anything? It's a stall. They'll outgrow us, outgun us, outlast us. We strike now, while we still have a say. Mason raised his weapon. Step back. Briggs looked him dead in the eyes. I read your files, Rourke. The old ones. You were supposed to die in Alaska. They wiped your record. You think they kept you around because of loyalty? You were a tool. So was I. Vera moved beside Mason. You're going to doom your own people. Briggs sneered. I'm going to save them. Then he activated the core. A deafening pulse tore through the room. Mason fired, missed. Briggs vanished into smoke and sparks. But the core had begun its ignition. Alien glyphs turned red. Alarms howled in 3 frequencies. Vera dashed to the interface, her fingers moving faster than Mason could track. What are you doing? I can delay it, not stop it. Mason's voice cracked. Then what do we do? There's only one way to contain the blast before it triggers the chain. She stopped. He understood immediately. No, I'm the only one who can survive that chamber long enough to seal it. I'm biologically compatible. You're not. You go in, you don't come back. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at him, really looked. Not as a soldier, not as a debt, but as someone she had come to care for. Mason shook his head. There has to be another way. There's not. I won't let you. You can't stop me. He stepped closer. I can go with you. Then we both die. The ground shook again. Tower 2's ceiling cracked. Debris rained down. The vault's defensive core was waking up. Vera pressed her forehead gently to Mason's. In another life, she whispered, we would have met in peace. I would have kissed you beneath your stars. He closed his eyes. Then give me something now. Anything real. She kissed him. Fierce. Unapologetic. Raw. When it ended, her eyes were shimmering. Don't forget me. I couldn't if I tried. Then she turned and ran into the fire. The chamber sealed behind her. Mason screamed. Punched the door. Sparks flew. On his comm. Static. Then a final voice from inside. Goodbye, Mason. And then silence. The pulse wave from the vault erupted upward, but it was contained. The tower held. The chain reaction halted. The world was spared. But Mason wasn't whole anymore. 2 days later, he stood before a field of alien crystal markers, graves with no names, only frequencies. Hers pulsed gently, quiet, constant, a symbol of sacrifice, not in battle, but in mercy. He left his dog tags at the base of her marker. She believed in something better, he told the small crowd behind him. And in the end, she became it. Southern Colorado, neutral recovery zone. 18 days later. The air here was different. No sirens, no ash, no alien lights humming beneath the soil. Just wind, just silence. Mason stood on the edge of a cliff, overlooking a valley where green was starting to come back. Trees charred by the heat wave from Vault Theta were sprouting again. The soil wasn't poisoned. The sky wasn't cracked. They had been lucky, but not all of them. Do you want to speak again? Asked the interviewer from the UN Restoration Division. She was polite, calm, padded jacket, tablet in hand, trying to look like this was just another debriefing. Mason didn't answer immediately. His beard was longer now. His eyes had that slightly hollow look, the kind of look you get when you've watched a miracle collapse into ashes. Finally, he said, no more speeches, no more recordings. The interviewer nodded, closing her tablet. There's a proposal on the table. Joint Command wants to assign you as liaison to the alien cultural envoy. It's ceremonial. They want a symbol of unity. He stared at the trees. They want a poster boy for peace. Well, she said, hesitating, you're the only one who loved a soldier from the other side and lived to tell it. He looked at her, expression unreadable. I didn't live to tell it, he said. I just lived. Later, in the old transport cabin they had converted into a temporary shelter, Mason went through what little remained of his personal effects. One item stood out, her communicator crystal. It had been returned to him by Vera's people. It no longer transmitted, but it pulsed gently, like a heartbeat in his palm. It was said to carry the final emotion of the one who wore it, a memory fragment. He held it against his chest. Warm, still warm. A knock at the hatch broke the moment. He opened the door to find Jelvats, one of Vera's former lieutenants, taller than her, skin a colder shade of blue, but with the same deliberate posture. A soldier through and through. I came to give you something, Jelvat said. Mason stepped aside. No words. From his satchel, the alien handed over a flat hexagonal object. It activated on contact and projected a hologram. Vera, speaking directly to him. If you're seeing this, Mason, then the vault held. I didn't make it. Or maybe I did. And they're keeping this from you to protect political optics. Either way, this is me. unfiltered. She smiled slightly. You once asked me why I didn't destroy you when I had the chance. The answer is simple. You looked at me like I was a person, not a threat. That was the first time I remembered what peace used to feel like. I'm not sorry for saving the world, but I'm sorry I couldn't save it with you. You were the best of your kind, and the part of me that learned how to hope again came from you. The projection flickered. One last smile. Don't vanish. Not like I did. Let them see the good in you. Let them see us. It ended. Mason didn't speak for a long time. Geldes didn't press. Finally, Mason looked up. Does your species believe in reincarnation? We believe in resonance, the alien said. Energy becomes memory. Memory becomes something else. If it finds a mind strong enough, it comes back. Mason nodded slowly. Then I'll wait. Over the next few weeks, Mason took the liaison role. Not for politics, not for press, but to finish what she started. He helped translate protocols, calm tensions, told stories about her, never naming her as martyr, never idolizing her, just telling the truth. One day, a group of human children visiting the Alliance outpost asked him what happened to the blue girl from the war. Mason looked out the window, where the wind moved through tall grass. She went home, he said. But isn't she gone? One of them asked. No, Mason said. She's everywhere now. That night, under a sky clear of smoke for the first time in months, he sat alone and activated the communicator crystal again. It didn't speak, but it pulsed. Alive. Mixed reconstruction territory. 6 months later. The field where the first peace contact was made was now a quiet clearing. No flags. No anthems. Just grass, stone, and a plaque at the center with 2 carved lines. She swore eternal gratitude, and she kept her word. Sergeant Mason Rourke. People came every month. Humans, aliens, kids, survivors. Some left flowers. Others left nothing, just silence. It wasn't sacred ground, but it was respected. Mason didn't come often, but when he did, he stayed for hours. The war wasn't truly over, but had changed shape. The enemies were quieter now, hidden in politics, buried in treaties, disguised as economic partnerships. But no one pulled a trigger as easily anymore, because now the world remembered how close it came to losing everything. And who stopped it? During the Reconstruction, Mason became a well-known name. Not a hero, not a traitor, just real. Soldiers listened when he spoke. Civilians trusted him more than generals. Even the aliens respected him, not because he was special, but because he stayed when it would have been easier to disappear. When asked about Vera, he always gave the same answer. She wasn't mine. She belonged to everyone who still believes the impossible is worth fighting for. He still wore her communicator crystal as a pendant, not out of mourning, but as a reminder that he could have killed her that frozen night in 2035 and chose not to. And one small choice had changed everything. During one interview, a reporter asked him, "Do you regret getting involved with her?" Mason stared straight into the camera. Calm. No hesitation. No. She showed me peace isn't the absence of war. It's the moment right before the bullet, when someone chooses not to fire. Sometimes, he dreamed about her. Not about battles. He dreamed of Vera sitting beside him in a quiet place. A beach that never existed. A sky with no satellites. Hands almost touching. No words. Just presence. In an unpublished letter years later, Mason wrote, "She was made of hard choices. Not pure goodness. Not empty sacrifice. But real courage. The kind that hurts, scars, and still shows up anyway. I loved her. Not like in the movies. I loved her like you love a shooting star. Knowing it'll vanish, but thankful you got to see it at all." The world moved on. Cities were rebuilt. Alien tech began being integrated slowly, ethically, carefully, under strict observation. Some tried to erase her from history. But Mason didn't let that happen. He helped curate the first human-alien museum on neutral soil. In the center hall, under an open sky dome, stood one crystal sculpture. Vera, arms open, face calm. Her cracked combat armor still intact, still proud. No weapons, just the eyes, sculpted with perfect precision, as if they were still watching everything. In the final official letter he ever published before vanishing from public life, Mason ended with one line. "I saved her, and she saved the rest." Outer Nevada desert. Year 2053. 15 years had passed since the Vol crisis. The Earth was quieter now, less chaotic, not quite peaceful, but learning. The human-alien treaty was real, though fragile. Schools taught new histories. Orbit was clear again, and out in the desert, far from cameras, far from speeches, a man lived in silence. Mason Rourke, hair gray, eyes sharp, the kind of sharp that comes from having seen too much and survived anyway. He lived in a solar cabin near what used to be an old launch site. No one visited. He didn't mind. Except today there was a knock. It was a girl, maybe 19. Her skin shimmered faintly under the sun. Blue, not like Vera. Lighter, softer. Her eyes were dark and curious, and she held something in her hand. A communicator crystal. His communicator crystal. "You dropped this once," she said. "I've been holding on to it." Mason stood still for a long moment. "Who sent you?" She didn't answer, but she stepped forward and placed the crystal in his hand. It pulsed. Warm. Later, they sat on the porch, wind blowing dust over the old solar panels. She told him she was part of a new hybrid diplomatic program, a generation born in peace, raised on stories, searching for truths behind names like his. "I heard she saved the world," the girl said. "She did," Mason replied. "And you?" "I just made a choice." They didn't talk much after that, but when the stars came out, she asked, "Do you miss her?" He didn't answer immediately. Then he pointed upward toward the northern sky, where an old, broken satellite used to be. "She's not gone," he said. "She's just everywhere else." As the girl left, Mason stood at the edge of his porch, holding the communicator. It glowed once more. This time, a message appeared on its surface. Resonance stored. Cycle complete. Awaiting contact. Mason smiled softly. "I'm still waiting. If you felt something reading this, if this story of love, war, and impossible choices moved you, drop a comment. Let us know what you would have done. And if you believe that even in the middle of conflict, we can still choose connection, subscribe to the channel. There's more where this came from.